Thank you very much for joining us. This is Inside Pages on Metro Television. My name is Aldo Moro. It's a pleasure coming your way here on Inside Pages. What we do is that we pick the most topical issues for the week. We invite the right guests and ask them the relevant questions. And this morning we have two very important and critical issues to look at on Inside Pages. And the first one has to do with what I'm sure most of you have been following, which has been one of the most interesting controversies which has rocked this country over the stashed cash in the private residence of the woman we now call Auntie Ceci. The latest, as you do know, is that the Attorney General has actually advised Iyoko as to what to do, has given directions as to what to do with the docket which was submitted to them by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Of course, this follows a request by the Iyoko to the Attorney General based on the dockets which has been submitted to them by the Office of the Special Prosecutor as to what to do with the documents. Because as far as they are concerned, their scrutiny of the document really doesn't give them any basis for them to proceed to investigate a case of money laundering and structure. And so the Attorney General has given its advice. But that advice is what has created a storm in this country where people are beginning to say, we smell an elephant. We smell what appears to be a contrived situation or a contrived arrangement, so to speak. But whether or not that is the case, we'll unravel all of that. We'll unravel that mystery on Inside Pages today. And to ask ourselves, where did Cecilia Dapaah get those huge sums of money stashed in her home? That basic question, a fundamental question, all the state agencies are struggling to tell us. Where did Cecilia Dapaah get all that money from? We're talking 3 million euros, $590,000, $1 million, and so on and so forth. So that is our conversation for today. And then, of course, the limited voter registration is ongoing. Some issues have come up, some hitches here and there. Issues about minors being passed from one place to the other for them to go and register. And then also there have been issues with, no internet connectivity and so on and so forth. We'll also look at that and ask, whether at the end of the day we'll have a very clean voters register from all of that we have seen happening. My name is Aldo Moro. Thank you very much for choosing Inside Pages. When I come back, I will be introducing my guest. But before I take a short break, let me say that it's 0249 155 646, 0249 155 155 646. You can see that displayed on your screens. That's how you, the viewer who is watching us this morning, can join the conversation. I will be right back.
Iyoko's plans to return the docket on Cecilia Dapaah follows an advice from the Office of the Attorney General against the initiation of money laundering investigations into the matter, citing failure by the OSP to establish evidence of corruption or corruption-related offences. Executive Director of Iyoko, COP Mamiya Tiwa Adudankwa, addressing the media at the 14th Commonwealth Regional Conference of Heads of Anti-Corruption Agencies in Africa, insisted Iyoko cannot proceed with the investigation.
Whatever that we would have done had already been directed at the CID to do. And like he said this morning, when you investigate a case and you did not find anything, we should be bold enough to say that for this case, even though I suspected this, at the end of the day, that wasn't what came out of it. We should tell the Ghanaian because of ABC. So we cannot continue to be doing fishing. It's like we don't even know what you are looking for. You just go about looking for something that you yourself, you are not even sure. So what I'm going to do is that with the AG's advice, I will send the docket that we received from the OSP to him.
The Office of the Special Prosecutor referred the case against former Sanitation Minister Cecilia Dapaah to the Economic and Organised Crime Office for further investigations on the basis that the office lacked the authority to prosecute or take further action against the former minister due to money laundering suspicions.
Setting records straight on the Cecilia Dapaah scandal, Director of Strategy, Research and Communications at the Office of the Special Prosecutor, Samuel Appiah Darko, noted the Economic and Organised Crime Office long returned the docket to the SP's office with an explanation that they have been advised by the Attorney General not to investigate. He further rejected claims that the docket it forwarded to Iyoko was baseless, stating that Iyoko is exhibiting its lack of interest in investigating the matter and rather attempting to blame the OSP. Sami Darko also lamented how lack of institutional collaboration is hindering its own mandate of being the independent and appropriate anti-corruption agency. In his view, all relevant agencies must be willing to do their part whenever the need arises to unravel corruption or corruption-related cases.
According to the law as we have it now, is proceeds from an unlawful activity. Right. So the Office of the Special Prosecutor has investigated whether or not there was an unlawful activity based on their jurisdiction, based on their mandate, looking at corruption-related offenses. The Office of the Special Prosecutor, according to his own document, conducted 7 months intensive, an intensive word was used by he himself, 7 months intensive investigation and 4 months collaborative investigation with the Federal Bureau of Investigations, and absolutely nothing was found. If something has been found, I believe that should also be a matter of public knowledge by now. So as it stands now, to the best of our information from the Office of the Attorney General, based on the docket that was forwarded from the same Office of the Special Prosecutor through Iyoko or to Iyoko, that was subsequently forwarded to us, there's no inkling, there's no sign, even remotely, of any unlawful activity for which we should use as a predicate offense to charge the former minister with money laundering.
Be careful, because the question is that if you come and you find money with me, do I owe any duty to you to explain as to whose money? When nobody complained that I have stolen his money. How many Ghanaians? Look, you Ghanaians are not honest people. The number of people here, when you go, you see all these huge buildings that they are building. Nobody, who asked them as to where they got the money from, when they started it, when was it completed? Nobody does. So you just pick on just one individual, you want to make it as if she was just an extraordinary rogue who has stolen money, when you don't even have any. If you have evidence that she stole money, please make the complaint. When you go to the criminal court, you must establish the issues beyond all reasonable doubt. That's what the criminal law says. Beyond all reasonable doubt. The criminal law is not based upon suspicion or a mere allegation. So please, I beg you, if you like, go and find a good criminal lawyer and inquire to him, so that it is the job of someone to go and prove his innocence.
All right, so the right tone has been set for what promises to be a very interesting conversation this morning. So you had a prominent member of this country and a senior citizen who's also a member of the Council of State, and you heard his views on the matter. 3 themes I gather from what lawyer Samuel Kudjatu has said. He said, 1, nobody has come to complain that their money is missing, so leave Cecilia Dapaah alone. 2, Ghanaians are hypocritical. We all keep monies in our house. Why do we have a problem with Cecilia Dapaah keeping money in her house and treating her as though she was some extraordinary rogue? And then number 3, if anybody has any evidence that Cecilia Dapaah has corrupted herself, the person should bring the evidence and leave her alone. Why are we being too harsh on her? Those are the 3 themes that I picked from lawyer Samuel Kudjatu's comment. I reserve my own opinion on that for a later time. But there have been some reactions. Before I read those reactions to you, let me say that this morning I have three gentlemen very capable to sort of analyze and discuss these issues. The first on my immediate left is the hardworking, very admirable member of parliament for Tamale Central, a man who is loved very much by his own people. I'm talking about the Honorable Murtala Ibrahim Mohammed. He's joined us on Inside Page this morning. Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. It's always a pleasure. And then, sorry, your microphone apparently is off. Yes.
Okay, good morning.
Yes, your constituents are watching. I'm sure that they'll be more than happy to see you this morning. And also, let me say that Nano Hininto, who is the former General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, he's not jumped ship. He's now with the Movement for Change, but he will be here in his capacity as a senior advisor to Alan Cheremating. That's who he is as we speak. So Nano Hininto will be joining us. And then also, we'll be joined by a member of the MPP's communications team. He's called Enoch, affectionately. He will also be joining us shortly in the studio for us to have this conversation. I need to get his full name for you. He's called Enoch Ahire Afuakwa. And he's done with his law studies. He's only waiting to be called to the bar. That's Enoch Ahire Afuakwa. He is a member of the MPP's communications team who will be joining. And then at some point, we're working the lines to get through to CDD. Now, the reason we want to get through to CDD is because CDD has issued a statement. And the CDD statement is what I'm going to be reading to you before I start my conversation with the Honorable Murtala Mohammed. The CDD has registered its dismay over the latest twist and turn in the Cecilia Dapaah's case. The CDD Ghana, in a statement copied to the Ghana News Agency, is saying that the Office of the Attorney General had, in a letter addressed to the Economic and Organized Crime Office, IOCO, dated April 25, 2024, advised IOCO to not investigate suspected money laundering in connection with certain monies found at the private residence of Mrs. Cecilia Dapaah, a former Minister of State, Minister of Sanitation and Water Resources. It said this followed a request by, and this, guess what? It puts the request in quotes, yeah? It said it follows a request for direction ostensibly made to the AG by IOCO, following IOCO's receipt of a referral from the Office of Special Prosecutor concerning Mrs. Dapaah's case. It said the referral from the OSP had noted that while the OSP's investigations had identified strong indications of suspected money laundering and structuring, such matters fell outside the OSP's statutory mandate, but were well within the IOCO's mandate, hence the referral. The statement said, in its advice to IOCO to not proceed with investigations of the matter, the AG stated that it found no grounds to warrant such an investigation because the OSP had not made any findings of criminal activity that would serve as a predicate offense for a money laundering case. It said the AG further stated that an investigation by IOCO into the Cecilia Dapaah matter was not necessary since the AG had apparently instructed the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service some 8 months ago to investigate the source of the monies found at Mrs. Dapaah's residence. The upshot of the AG's advice is that the Cecilia Dapaah matter is over. Case closed. Magana Yamutu. Magana Yamutu. You know, my friends who don't speak good Hausa says Mangana Yamutu, but it's Magana Yamutu. Yeah? Now, once again, a high-profile case of suspected or alleged criminal conduct implicating a politically influential person has been terminated abruptly without proper credible resolution or closure. It is not clear in what way the forced termination of further investigations into this matter by the AG serves either the public interest or help the reputation of the target of the investigations. The statement said it was hard to believe that after over 8 months of investigations following the alleged theft of $1 million, 300,000 pounds cash from the home of Mrs. Dapaah, the subsequent discovery of another $590,000, 2.7 million cedis in cash by the OSP in Madame Dapaah's properties, not to mention the huge balances held in investment and bank accounts. Ghanaians could not get a simple, satisfactory answer from any public agency as to the source of these monies. The statement said, the fact that these monies, at least in the aggregate, apparently exceed the former minister's known or verifiable income should raise legitimate questions or reasonable suspicion or doubt as to their source. It said, continuing to investigate this matter to establish the source of the monies was therefore eminently justifiable under the circumstances. In fact, the idea that unexplained wealth can give rise to a reasonable suspicion or even a presumption of illegality of the source of such wealth is a principle embraced by the Constitution. It said notably that Article 2864 of the Constitution of this country, in the chapter on the Code of Conduct for Public Officers, made it clear in the context of the asset declaration regime that assets of a declarant that were not reasonably attributable to income, gifts, loan, inheritance, or any other reasonable source shall be deemed to have been acquired in contravention of this Constitution. The statement adds, it was the same principle or presumption that justified at least a credible investigations in this matter. It noted that it was instructive that Mrs. Dapaah refused to complete a statement of income and property. So it's an income and property form, so she didn't want to fill it for whatever reason. During the OSP investigation. That's very instructive, isn't it? Okay, so far, no other agency is known to have asked to see Mrs. Dapaah's asset declaration record or appears interested in getting to the bottom of this matter in order to bring it to a satisfactory closure. It said the action of IOCO in requesting directions from the AG without first acting on the referral from the OSP to initiate its own investigations of the matter seemed oddly contrived. Oddly contrived. Okay. It reiterated that having been provided with a docket containing various exhibits, statements by 20 or so individuals, as well as the bare fact of the quantum of the monies found in the property associated with Mrs. Dapaah and her spouse, one would have expected IOCO to proceed with its own investigations instead of seeking the AG's legal advice on prosecution at that early pre-investigative stage. CDD Ghana notes with great disappointment that the abrupt or inconclusive manner in which this matter had been ended fits a pattern of the Nana Akufo-Addo administration general's attitude and response to scandals and allegations or reported incidents of criminal conduct, corruption, or other financial malfeasance involving persons closely associated with the government or ruling New Patriotic Party. The statement said cases and scandals that had been treated in similar inclusive fashion include various galamsey scandals and a host of pseudo-PPP procurement deals, including the recent SML case. It said the government had not demonstrated a good faith commitment to working with responsible agencies to bring any of these cases or scandals to a credible and satisfactory resolution. It said the government, it appeared, was more interested in exonerating the target or suspect in these cases than in working with the state investigative and prosecutorial agencies to resolve these matters in the public interest. The statement said the government made much of the fact that it pioneered the establishment of the OSP and had provided significant financial resources to enable the OSP and related agencies to function. But what is the point of funding the budget of these investigative and anti-corruption or anti-crime agencies in one breath, while turning around to frustrate or obstruct their efforts to investigate politically sensitive and other high-profile cases? It said, given Ghana's continuing dismal performance in fighting corruption and associated alarming deterioration of the quality of governance, this persistent inconclusive handling and shutting down of high-profile scandals only serves to further undermine the already low public trust in the nation-state institutions. Now, I'm going to read something. I'm going to read this final document before I start because it's extremely important to set or to put this whole conversation in its proper context. It's extremely important. So this is the AG's advice to Iyoko as to what to do with Cecilia Dapaah's case, based on which CDD had to issue a statement. I'll read just portions of it, okay? Please bear with me. Now, Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice request for directions in the matter of Republic versus Cecilia Dapaah, Abena Dapaah, and Daniel Osekufo, that's her husband. A referral by the special prosecutor to the Economic and Organized Crime for Money Laundering investigations. We, of course, that's the office, refer to your letter dated 21st February 2024 requesting directions on a referral by the special prosecutor of the above-mentioned case to the Economic and Organized Crime, Iyoko, for investigations on money laundering and structuring. You have stated in your letter, and that's Iyoko, you have stated in your letter that upon a review of the document from the Office of the Special Prosecutor, it is not clear, so Iyoko is not clear, which predicate offense to posit. A predicate offense is also a foundational offense, but we'll explain that later. A predicate offense to posit an alleged case of money laundering by the OSP on. You attached a copy of the report on your review of the OSP's docket to your letter referred above. A study of the docket from the OSP and the reports by your office indicates that A, investigations by the OSP did not establish any evidence of corruption-related offenses, or procurement breaches against the suspect. So the AG is saying that the documents that Iyoko presented to it states clearly that it does not find any basis for looking into a case of corruption, as the OSP has said. So let's continue. The OSP has returned the money and other properties retrieved from the suspects in the course of the investigations with them, and the suspects have been accordingly discharged by the OSP. We observe that the OSP did not place a copy of its report on investigations conducted by that outfit on the docket submitted to your office. The OSP's letter to you also did not disclose the basis for the suspicion of the commission of the offense of money laundering and structure. It is difficult to ascertain the basis for the OSP's suspicion of the commission of the offense of money laundering and structuring by the suspect. A study of the documents on the docket submitted by the OSP does not disclose how the offense of money laundering and structuring might have been committed as alleged by the OSP. These documents include 1, the OSP, so they are telling us the documents that the OSP submitted to Iyoko, which Iyoko also submitted to AG for them to scrutinize and advise what the way forward is. So 1, the OSP's letter to your outfit by which the docket was transmitted. So there was an attached letter telling them what to do with the document. 2, the diary of action, what happened from what day, when, who was interviewed, blah, blah. Statements taken in the course of investigations by the OSP, 20 witness statements were taken both abroad and here. It's all there. Letters written by the OSP to various institutions, including the Criminal Investigation Department of the Ghana Police Service and some banks in the country. And then the 5th one is various exhibits, including documents of incorporation of entities with which the first suspect, Mrs. Cecilia Dapaah, is associated, company documents, entities owned by persons with which the first suspect, Mrs. Cecilia Dapaah, is associated, and the contracts awarded in the tenure of the first suspect, that's Cecilia Dapaah, as minister at the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources. Now, the OSP indicates that in October 2023, the investigations became transboundary, so FBI, America, was brought in to help because they said they also received some money from abroad, so the FBI had to come and assist with us. Now, it says, we observed that by a letter dated 1st February 2024, you wrote to the OSP to furnish you with a copy of the findings on the case to facilitate your investigations. You inform us that today the OSP has not responded to your request. So now this is where it gets interesting. Now, sections 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of the Anti-Money Laundering Act 2020 Act 1944 create offenses relating to money laundering. It says at the outset, it is important to indicate that the offense of structuring is not even known to Ghana laws. Now, at the heart of the offense of money laundering is gains obtained from criminal proceeds arising. Now, here's the thing. It's gains obtained from criminal proceeds arising from an unlawful activity, which is defined in Section 63 of Act 104. So here, That's why they talk about predicate offense, according to AG, that you haven't established any act of crime. You haven't said Cecilia Dapaah has stolen somebody's money. You haven't said Cecilia Dapaah has engaged in fraud, and so on and so forth. So there's no foundational crime. There's no foundational offense. There's no predicate offense. So what are you building your case of money laundering on? So that's what the AG is saying. That's why he's asking the EOCO to come again. That's what he's asking the OSP to come again. That's the AG's interpretation and how he intends to do things. So here's the thing. He says, in the absence of the identification of any criminality associated with the properties retrieved from the suspect, the OSP's referral to EOCO for investigations to be conducted into money laundering is without basis. It's without foundation. There's no justification. It is not grounded whatsoever. Now, even though as part of the mandate, you could commence investigations into the sources of the money found in the home of the suspect, we do not find this necessary, since this office, before the reference by the OSP, had instructed the police service, who are already seized with the other aspects of the case, to investigate the sources of the huge sums of money found in the home of the suspect. A fact the OSP is aware of. We find from the OSP's docket, marked as B1, a copy of the Attorney General's letter to the Director General of CID dated 31st July 2023. In light of the above, the OSP docket on the above matter is returned herewith. Now, it's signed Evelyn D. Keelson, Chief State Attorney, on behalf of the Attorney General, and it's copied to the Executive Director, Economic and Organized Crime. But you see, yes, this is where it gets interesting. So Attorney General's office, or Mr. Attorney General, if you have instructed the CID to investigate the source of the money, why haven't you followed up to find out? I gave you a job since last year, July. Let me know how the woman made all those huge sums of money. The Inspector General of Police hasn't come back to you. You haven't also bothered to ask the Inspector General of Police, what have you found out? And when the media ask, you're telling us that we should go and ask the Inspector General of Police what has become of that investigations. Oh, that's not how you do your work. No. You can just pick your phone and call the IGP. It's not difficult at all. Call the IGP. Ask the IGP, my brother, how far? Have you done the investigations? Have you been able to establish where Cecilia Dapaah got the money from? You haven't done that? Why? I'm a little incensed when I hear, the Attorney General say that, we, the media, should go and ask. Yes, it is not out of our mandate and our role and our responsibility as media to follow up. But you wrote to we didn't tell you to write to the IGP. You wrote, you said, check, let me know, investigate since July. You haven't bothered to ask. We should go and ask on your behalf. How? Anyway, let's do this. Murtala Mohammed is here. He's the MP for Tamale Central. Honorable, I'll start with you. The Honorable Nano Hininto and Enoch will joining us in a few minutes, but I'll start with you. What's your own reading of this very interesting controversy? What are your thoughts? What have you been thinking?
Good morning, Moro, and good morning to your cherished viewers, and of course, the good people of Tamale Central. I think the question should be directed to everybody in this country, and as to why we are where we are. For me, it's a symptom of the profound robbery that this country and the people of this country have been subjected to by President Nana Addo, Dr. Bawumia, and their families. And I say so because clearly the president made his position known on this Cecilia Dapaah matter. Long before any investigation commenced in the matter, the president had declared Cecilia Dapaah free of any wrongdoing. You remember when he wrote his response to the love letter, the so-called resignation letter of Honorable Cecilia Dapaah. I know for a fact that the woman was unwilling to resign.
Right.
I know for a fact that the woman had to be forced to resign to save the embarrassment that this government was going to be subjected to. But what baffles me, and I believe baffled many Ghanaians, is the fact that you have 3 state or would-be state, independent state institutions that are fighting over who is an accomplice in the commission of a crime that battles over who is incompetent in the so-called investigation into the matter. And to be very honest, I'm a bit disappointed in the OSP. I'm on record to have raised concerns about the creation of that office.
Okay.
And I'm also on record to have made statements that are supporting the work of the OSP. And these are not contradictory positions. I say so because I raised my objection about the creation of the office because I felt that whatever the office was coming to do, the Minister of Justice and Attorney General was already clothed with the capacity to do so. But once the office was established, I had no other option than to support the office to ensure that they do that which they were established to do. Now, for my disappointment about the office and the way they conduct themselves in this matter is the fact that they abandoned, for me, what I consider to be the most critical aspect of the Cecilia Dapaah scandal. Moru, when this thing came up, you had MPP regional executive who went on air, on radio, to justify the monies that were found in the residence of Honorable Cecilia Dapaah. I guess one of the Greater Accra regional executive, I don't know whether it was the chairman or the organizer, who claimed that the monies were monies that they were donations, or final donations to Madame Cecilia Dapaah. You had other MPP activists who proffer several reasons why they think that the monies were found in the residence of Cecilia Dapaah. Several reasons. And I say that she was happy with those defense. Because as a matter of fact, she never issued a statement or made a comment distancing herself from those justifications that were provided in her defense. So one can conclude that she was happy about the justifications provided in defending her of this alleged crime. I mean, if $1 million was to be found in my residence or in your residence, Moro, I really don't think there will be free men walking. Now, my disappointment in the work of the OSP was the fact that they abandoned the alleged corruption thing, which they are clothed with the capacity to do as an independent investigative state institution established to do so, to look into political corruption. And being conscious of Article 2864 of the 1992 Constitution, which you amply read in the statement issued by CDD, I was wondering why that could be abandoned. Instead, they focus on money laundering. And the money laundering issue, they knew that they were not clothed with the capacity to do so. They knew that it was only Iyoko and perhaps the police who were clothed with the capacity to do so. So they abandoned suspected money laundering. So clearly the president made his position very known. And this president has been very reckless in his attempt and the speed with which he defends such alleged corruption. This is not the first time. You remember Pius case, the visa racketeering, which he was engaged in, where citizens of this country purportedly, presented to the Australian High Commission as journalists, long before any investigation was commenced into the matter. The president went to Volta Regina and said the Pius didn't engage in any crime. Such a character is contesting to be elected as a member of parliament. And you see, that time I remember my issue was not just even about the misrepresentation or the visa racketeer. My issue at that time had to do with a deceit of a foreign state by another state. The letter which was written to the Australian High Commission was a letter written and signed by an official of the state. And I shudder to think that it was the deputy minister who wrote the letter of misrepresentation and a deceit to another state. Because mind you, the Australian High Commission represent the Australian government in Ghana. Long before any investigation was commenced into the matter, the president went to Volta Region and said that Pius didn't engage in any crime. And without any shred of respect and decency, to the sanctity of the office of the president. And that for me was extremely galling. And it's the same thing that the president did in the matter of the Cecilia Dapaah. Why? The woman should be able to explain to us how she came by the money. taking into consideration the contradictory statements she herself made and her spokespersons made as to how she came by the money. And in fact, she herself, the earlier statement she made on the matter of the monies that were found in her residence, I think that it was appropriate for proper investigation to be done into the matter. So I am particularly, flabbergasted that the Office of the Special Prosecutor is not interested in investigating to establish how she came by the money, taking into consideration Article 2864 of the 1992 Constitution, which says, among others, the monies that are found or that are not properly explained by anybody with whom those monies are found could be a subject for prosecution or investigation. What prevented the Office of the Special Prosecutor to demand that there should be proper investigation, proper investigation and suing the woman, taking the woman to court to establish how she came by the money? So essentially,
you don't agree with the Office of the Special
Prosecutor?
No, I
don't. I have a problem with
that. There's no basis to proceed
on the matter of
corruption.
And issue, on the
matters
matter
of corruption, suspected case of corruption,
and reduce everything to money laundering, and by which reason it was sent to the IOCO to do so. But again, Madam Tiwa, how credible is that woman? How credible is that woman who is heading that office? You know her conduct.
Why are you doubting her credibility?
Absolutely. Why? There is every reason to. Well, have you forgotten what happened on the issue of the
conversation with A+?
Exactly, A+ and the abduction of the woman. The A+ issue, she never denied the fact that what A+ said was not true. If she did, it bordered on her integrity. She could have gone ahead to sue A+. She never did that. Her conduct in the matter of the abduction of Ghanaian girls in this country, where she said that, they know where the girls are, and that very soon the people of this country will be told the truth, and the girls will be found. What happened? We still can't find those ladies. That woman doesn't have any credibility to man that office. Listen to the woman in the matter of this. She said, I don't even know what we are looking for. IOCO boss. She said, I don't even know what we are looking for. She sat on radio, on TV, granted an interview, I think on the 1st of May, and lied. She said that she was going to return. When she knew in the heart of her heart, she had already returned the document to OSP. Now, it took the response of OSP to expose her that what she said she was going to do, she had done that long before she granted that interview. Such a person doesn't have the credibility to man the office. So there is every attempt that is done by this government to provide an impenetrable shield for Madame Cecilia Dapaah in this matter. One thing that gives me hope is that crime has no date of elapse. This matter will be properly investigated, inshallah, when NDC comes to office on the 7th day of January 2025. This matter wouldn't be allowed to rest. We need to know how she came by that money. The list said about that man, what's the name? Lawyer Okujeto. The better. I mean, how? It's ridiculous.
He's a senior citizen. Let's
take it easy on him. Give me a break. It's ridiculous.
He's a member of the Council of State.
Senior citizens, the members of Council of State, must speak responsibly. For her to say that who has reported in this country her money is missing. Ridiculous. The other criminal investigations, some of which led to prosecution and conviction, who in this country told us that they lost any money?
That's a legitimate question.
Who in this country said? And he, senior citizen, was one of the loudest who spoke in demanding that proper investigation and prosecution be done in those alleged corrupt acts which were investigated, prosecutions were done, and people were convicted. This same person sits on TV, look into our miserable and frustrated faces, and asks us a question that who in this country has reported that he or she has lost the money, and therefore Ghanaians are making a lot of noise.
So we're being hypocritical.
Absolutely.
We keep monies in our homes. Why can't Cecilia Dapaah keep money at home?
Wisdom doesn't lie only in gray hair. Wisdom. Now, it is expected that as you grow older, you tend to be wiser. Unfortunately, there is a popular saying that you are able to determine fools in what they say and you determine wise men in their silence. I was shocked. And I told you when you were playing, I said, this is the first time I'm listening to such reckless and irresponsible statement made by a member of Council of State, asking the people of this country that we are making a lot of noise, and that who has reported in this country that his or her money is missing, and therefore we must not demand proper accountability. Is that how low our democracy has sunk? People in this country whose taxes are being misused or allegedly stolen have the right democratically to demand proper accountability by people who hold offices in this country. You remember in this, part of the statement issued by CDD, the woman stopped providing information as to the full declaration of her assets. True. That is her income and property. Why? Public officer. She refused to continue providing the information to an independent state institution for the purposes of investigation.
She may have good reasons.
What reasons?
She doesn't want to provide them.
What reasons? You cannot have any justification when such demands are made on you by a state institution clothed with the powers and the authority to demand such information. Right. And she refused to do so because she's untouchable. She refused to do so, and nothing happens. And Lawyer Kujeto and Co. will look at that and tell us that we're making too much noise. That's a popular saying in Dagbani. Na abazukan wakagura akumbe down.
Okay. What does it mean?
You haven't stolen saltpeter.
Okay.
And they have started shouting, someone has stolen saltpeter in the center of the market. And the multitude of people in the market, you started running away. What are you running away from? If you haven't stolen saltpeter and they are shouting a stealer of saltpeter, why are you running? If there is nothing that is supposed to be hidden, if the woman is very clean, if the monies were gotten legitimately, I think that the woman, the president, should ensure that she subjects herself to absolute scrutiny, subject herself, provide all the information, necessary information needed for independent state institutions to do their work. Why the rush in having this defense when the president himself, without any investigation, says that I know that you come out clean? A love letter, virtually, which was written to Madame Cecilia Dapaah by His Excellency the President. Why that rush? Why that rush in defense? If people are demanding accountability, transparency, you have a member of Council of States who look into our faces and says, we're making a lot of noise. Who has reported in this country?
Sorry, let me come in. Derek, do you have the video again? If you can play back the Samukujeto video so that our viewers can watch and also listen. Just a second. Okay, whilst we're trying to get the video for you, let me announce that Nano Hininto is here. He's also a senior citizen, but now he is the senior advisor to Mr. Alan Kojo Chiramateng. He's a senior advisor to the founder and leader of the Movement for Change. And so he's no mean person. He's a very prominent person in the society. And Anna, let me say a very good morning to you. Thank you so very much for joining us. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I was amazed when I found out that you're almost 70. I mean, you don't look like you're almost 70.
He doesn't, absolutely.
Wow. He looks 55.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable. Wow.
I take it as a compliment.
Yeah, well,
no,
you would have to tell me what the trick is. You know?
Well,
maybe he takes cocoa and
please bring down the mic a little bit so that you can hear a bit more.
By the grace of God.
Yes.
I mean, my whole life, 100% in the hands of Jesus.
Right.
That, I think, is the biggest reason. Maybe others, but this is the key reason.
Wow.
I think.
Wow.
Maybe we can discuss the details
Amazing.
later.
It's a whole conversation we're going to have.
So, Moro, let me just conclude.
Because I want to bring in.
Yes, I'll just conclude on this. Moro, you see.
Before you let me bring in the other man.
Okay,
I think he's also a very important man who's also joining us now. Eko, want to say a very big thanks for joining us. Enoch, sorry, I can't keep saying Eko.
No, the economy can make you even forget names.
I want. I'm sure Afuakwa. Your mic is actually off, so it's Eko. I'm sure Enoch.
He wants to change your name.
It's the
economy. You don't blame him.
No, it's not the economy. I think he's interested in the name Echo.
Instead of Enoch.
And all starts with E. So.
Thank you. But it's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see
We're
you.
so happy you've been able to join us. Yeah, I'll get to preliminary remarks shortly, but I want the Honourable Member of Parliament to land in.
So Moro, my point is simple. Monies were found in the residence of a public officer.
Right.
And the monies were not small monies. $1 million,
That's £3 million. There's 3 million euros. There's $1 million. And there's $590,000.
Yeah.
So then there's 2-point-something million cedis.
First and foremost, even to keep such monies in your residence, a public officer, creates room for a lot of suspicion.
Right.
I mean, everybody, the state is encouraging everybody to keep their monies in bank.
Okay.
In times where the city indeed has broken jail, it is now a fugitive. We're told by that incompetent, fraudulent Dr. Baumia that they arrested the city and that the keys were handed, over to the IGP. The city has broken jail, is a fugitive now. Could you imagine if those monies were kept in the bank, what it would have done to the value of the city in this country? Mind you, in financial transactions, is if monies like that are kept in the bank, it adds up to monies in circulation.
Right.
Because you have a lot of money. That is why anytime the city is losing value, the governor of Bank of Ghana would say that we are injecting this amount of money because the financial environment operates on what's the name? Perception.
Yeah,
so the moment the people hear that there is this money that is injected into the system, those who were holding their monies will bring the monies out.
Okay.
Such a person is keeping the monies. And mind you, the same president and government encourages people, and in fact, accused the NDC that it was the NDC elements who were holding monies. This accusation was done at the height of government. You had ministers and government spokespersons who accused members of the NDC and the Ghanaian populace that it was unpatriotic Ghanaians who were hoarding monies. Little did we know that the monies were hoarded by no less a person, but ministers of state. Now, do you know other monies that are kept by other appointees of this government?
Right.
Now, that for me should be a worry to everybody.
Okay.
Now, instead of investigating, the woman was asked to provide detailed information. Because all of us, look, I filled in as a member of parliament, I'm not holding any public office. I went in and filled a form which was submitted at the Auditor General. The properties I have, every single property I have, I don't have many properties anyway. I had to fill a form. This woman did same. Now, providing the information to an independent state institution could let them determine how she came by that wealth. And she refused to continue with that information with alacrity, and nothing happens. Now you have the Minister for Justice and Attorney General who is instructing the Yoko not to proceed with any investigation on the matter of even the money laundering for whatever reason. So there is every attempt to dance to the tune of President Nanado, who is not only a protector of corrupt officials, who is an accomplice. And in fact, I said it on this program, and I'll repeat same. The Flagstaff House has become the citadel for corruption. And to conclude, Moro, take the 2017 financial statement. Read it, which was presented in the 7th Parliament. Every single paragraph you would find corruption and how the president was going to fight corruption in the entire document. Juxtapose that with the subsequent financial statements or budget statements presented. Every single year, this president and Dr. Baumia started moving away from the word corruption. And in fact, I predicted before the last financial statement was made on your medium that the president was not going to say anything about corruption. And true to my prediction, he ran away from the word corruption. So they even simply do not want to hear that. And President Nanado has embarrassed and disappointed many people. I have had interactions with people in academia, very old friends of President Nanado, who expressed profound disgust about the level of his engagement in the plunder of the resources of this country
I'm sure
at the height of the president. And I think that it is completely disappointing.
I know you have a lot more to say, but I would have wished that when we come back to you, that you can give us you can give a second take on this topic under discussion. But let's watch Samogujatu again.
Be careful, because the question is that if you come and you find money with me, do I owe any duty to you to explain as to whose money? When nobody complained that I have stolen his money. How many Ghanaians? Look, you Ghanaians are not honest people. The number of people here, when you go, you see all these huge buildings that they are building. Nobody, who asked them as to where they got the money from, when they started it, when was it completed? Nobody does. So you just pick on just one individual, you want to make it as if she was just an extraordinary rogue who has stolen money When you don't even have any, if you have evidence that she stole money, please make the complaint. When you go to the criminal court, you must establish the issues beyond all reasonable doubt. That's what the criminal law says. Beyond all reasonable doubt. The criminal law is not based upon suspicion or a mere allegation. So please, I beg you, if you like, go and find a good criminal lawyer and inquire to him, so that it is the job of someone to go and prove his innocence.
All right. All right, that's a member of the Council of State and
this
a senior
this country
citizen
is gone. It's finished.
Expressing his thoughts on the Cecilia Dapaah matter, asking Ghanaians a couple of questions. One, has anybody come out to say that their money is missing? And two, let's stop being hypocritical. Let me bring in the MPP rep who is with us here. In fact, he's corrected me several times on his name. I don't want to get it wrong this time around. So I'm going to... No, in fact, it's the middle one. Yes, it's Enoch, I'm here. Anshiri? Yes, Anshiri. What does Anshiri mean?
Never lack.
Oh,
never lack.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right, Enoch, so what's
that's
the...
a good name, eh?
What do you make of all that's happened so far?
Yeah, let me say a very good morning to your cherished viewers and to Nana Hininto, Honorable Mutala, and then your humble self, Moro, and to extend the greetings of His Excellency the President and that of his Vice President and leader of the New Patriotic Party, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who is also the President in waiting for the good people of this country. Certainly on December 7th, 2024, the good people of Ghana will queue to confirm the mandate of His Excellency, the Vice President, as the President-elect of the Republic of Ghana. And certainly it will come to pass, because I have had some level of engagement with a good number of people on the street, and it confirms the feeling I have within me and the dreams I have had in the past. And all this will materialize because Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia represents the future of this country to help propel this country into the fourth industrial revolution that we are all yearning to join. Because tomorrow, the third industrial revolution, Ghana did not actively participate because of the structures that we put in place. And certainly, we cannot lose guard in jumping into the fourth industrial revolution with our chest out full of hope that Ghana as a sovereign state has the capabilities. Because in terms of resources, we have what it is to be able to participate fully in that realm. Talk of the human resource potential. We've had Ghanaians in the past leading the United Nations and other well-meaning organizations within the international community. In terms of football, in terms of music, in terms of, take it everywhere, in journalism, having risen to the apex in all spheres of life. So certainly with the fourth industrial revolution, we believe that Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is the leader who has been chosen by God, the Almighty, to help lead this country into the fourth industrial revolution with the bold solutions that will help culminate into the development of our country. On the matter of the OSP versus Yoko and other state institutions, I have heard Honorable Mutala propound a lot of theories. Simply, the interest of the NDC is to deepen the corruption perception within this government. And like Mr. Okujeto said, a legal luminary mentioned that you don't take perceptions, you don't take emotions, you don't take innuendos and aspersions to the criminal court. What you can take to the criminal court is evidence. And investigations are conducted to establish the facts of the matter and to be able to assemble evidence. Mind you, that Ghana as a sovereign state is a democratic country. Ghana is not a theocratic country. Should Ghana have been a theocratic country, probably we would have been ruled by either the Quran or the Bible. But Ghana, it's a democratic country, and we are governed by the Constitution. That is the supreme law, that is the body of law that governs this country. And in it devolves the acts of parliament and subsidiary legislations and all the writs that regulate the conduct of persons within the country to make this country strong. All of us, as citizens of this country, have a Bill of Rights enshrined in the Constitution of our country. And one of these inalienable rights is a presumption of innocence of accused persons under Article 19 of our Constitution.
Until proven guilty.
Absolutely. Article 19 of our Constitution proposes that every accused person is innocent until proven guilty. And there must be fair trial. Once you read even the whole of Article 19, it talks about fair trial, which is something our courts protect jealously. You know one thing, Mr. Okujeto rightly mentioned that in terms of criminal trial, it is not a preponderance of probability as pertains in the civil courts, but the scale is beyond reasonable doubt, which means that it is it goes a step further, that the prosecution must be able to establish that a crime has been committed and it was committed by no other person than the accused. If there is a little doubt, then it gives a room for the accused person to be able to defend or to rebut the proposition of the prosecutors. In this instance case of Madam Cecilia Dapaah and the OSP, you see, I have said in the past that should you have seen such huge sums of money in the bedroom of Mr. Joseph Senior Japon, Dr. Joseph Senior Japon, Jospon, who is the CEO of the Jospon Group, or Mr. Ibrahim Mahama, or even Kennedy Japon, who is known to be a business mogul and a politician as well, and a couple of adults that we know they are well resourced and they have the wherewithal as far as the financial muscles are concerned, would that have raised this level of suspicion and perception and the commentaries and the narratives within the public space?
Absolutely not, because they are businessmen.
They are businessmen.
They're known, established
so
businessmen.
are these the only businessmen in this republic? There are silent ones. I read about a woman who is not known in the public space, and it is purported to have said that this woman is the richest woman in Ghana. But her name is silent. Her name is silent. Right. If by no means, by the grace of God, based on her entrepreneurship or based on her standing and her experiences, she's appointed into public office in the future, one day, by any government, and realize that some huge sums of money are stuck in her room, would this be the trial in the public space? Yes. Moro. Investigations were conducted.
What exactly?
I'm coming there. There is no law on compulsion. There's no law on compulsion as far as keeping assets that belongs to you in this republic is concerned,
right?
Being it financial or whatsoever. Is there a law that taxes everybody, every citizen, not to keep money in her room or his room?
There isn't.
There isn't.
Yes. We're only encouraged to save with the financial institutions, but there's no law that says you cannot keep your money in your house. Yes.
The Office of the Special Prosecutor conducted an investigation, the 7 months and over investigation into the Madam Cecilia Dapaah matter. And, you know, the OSP Act, that's the Act 959, gave the OSP some jurisdiction to investigate matters of corruption and corruption-related offenses. This is the clear jurisdiction given the Office of the Special Prosecutor to investigate into matters of corruption and corruption-related offenses.
True.
After Mr. Kisia Jabin and his team has gone through this robust investigations for the past 7 months, having seized some assets of Madam Cecilia Dapaah, of which they failed to even seek the confirming order from the court as far as the requirements of the Act 959, the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act, was concerned. Because these are procedural matters, and it is by law that they did so. They refused. They did not comply with those sections of the law. The court reversed their actions as not meeting the standards and ordered that the assets should be given back to the owner. Eventually, they re-seized them. They handed over and re-seized them because they have the power to do so. It certainly went through a robust process, investigating assets that belongs to Madam Cecilia Dapaah, going through her stewardship at the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources as the sector minister then, contracts awarded, everything, companies that has been incorporated, associated with Madam Cecilia Dapaah, and even people associated with Madam Cecilia Dapaah and their operations to establish whether there has been some, one way or the other, a connection in her dealing as the then sector minister to be able to link whether there has been some level of corruption or corruption-related offenses within her stewardship in the then Ministry of Water Resources, Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources then. Nothing of such was established. Eventually, the Office of the Special Prosecutor linked up with the FBI to be able to establish whether there has been some money laundering transactions and the likes between this Federal Bureau of Investigations of the United States of America and the likes. To our dismay, nothing of that was said. Eventually, because he was unable, or the Office of the Special Prosecutor were unable to establish corruption and corruption-related offense, which is by law their jurisdiction to be able to investigate. They gave the docket back to, they transferred the docket to a state agency with a wherewithal, with a legal, close with the legal capacity to be able to investigate this matter. That is the Economic and Organized Crime Office, which is also established by law. That is the Act 804. And eventually, because the OSP was unable to point out some semblance of money laundering or money structuring or whatsoever in that dealing, upon several requests from the Yoku, written letters to the OSP to be able to furnish them with some details with regards to those material allegations that the OSP was being made. In this instance, it was the OSP transferring the docket to Yoku. So OSP was the complainant. And as complainant, you need to be able to support some assumptions and allegations, some facts, so that the ombudsman, Yoko, could be able to go along with you. Because you have established, you have gone through over 7 months of investigations, having done all that there is. Because if you don't have the mandate, you establish something. You get some evidence in accordance with the evidence decree of 1975, Act 323. You are unable to submit same to another state agency, sister state agency, that is clothed with the capacity to be able to investigate on that matter. The docket was hollow. It did not contain the material elements to be able to aid Yoko go along with the tangent that the OSP claimed or tasked Yoko to investigate. Eventually, there was nothing to investigate because the woman, in accordance with law, as the presumption of innocence states under our Constitution, was indeed innocent, judging from the 7-month-long standing investigation by the OSP.
Actually, 8 months.
8 months.
Yes.
And what transpired within the Yoko and, the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Indeed, the demand for even the FBI report was not even submitted to Yoko from my investigation. And I had one, Mr. Samuel Dapaah Saga, the Director of Strategy, Research and Communication of the Office of Special Prosecutor, stated clearly that the FBI reports have some level of confidentialities and the likes, and they cannot release them straight to the Yoku. So, if it has some level of confidentiality and the likes, at least you could have even pointed to some level of facts that will lead the Yoku into going forward or to even request formally of the report from the FBI to be able to enhance the investigations of Yoku. The docket did not contain any document that will establish that, in fact, there are gray areas for Yoko to go in as far as money laundering and structuring is concerned in this matter. So is it the case that because some NDC appointees have been found culpable with the law, is it the case that in the past, from Mr. Kwame Pepra, from name them, the quality grain scandal matters, and all there is, coming to the NCA saga, the TV matter, and all those things. The recent one is the
NDC matter. Seeking equalization.
Absolutely. Okay. That is the assumption. That is the basis. Okay. Because once it is established, and now we can say the NDC is the most corrupt political party in our republic. Yes, because in the Fourth Republic, name the number of appointees of the NDC that has been convicted and sentenced to prison custody by courts of competent jurisdiction in this republic. Oh, Honorable, don't do that. Yeah. Don't do that.
Let's stay on track.
Okay, I'll respond.
That has been convicted and sentenced to prison custody as a result of corruption and corruption-related offenses, willfully causing financial loss to the state and all material matters in our criminal jurisprudence.
But is willfully causing financial loss to the state a case of corruption?
Oh, certainly.
No.
Certainly, it can lead into it. It can feed into it.
It can lead you, but
it can feed into
corruption.
it. No, it can feed into it.
I understand. But I'm saying that, no, I want us to speak the same language. I'm saying that that's willfully causing financial loss to the state, of which has been the basis upon which some of these former appointees have been jailed. I'm saying that is that necessarily...
It is the most corrupt. It is established. It is an established fact.
Is that a case of corruption? That's what I'm asking. I mean, is willfully causing financial loss in itself corruption? No, the lawyers will tell you no, it's not. Anyway, please go ahead.
It has a semblance of...
that's a different...
It leads to...
That's different.
Because once you willfully... What's the meaning of willfully? You have clear intentions of causing financial loss to the state. Probably you have benefited from that transaction.
Being reckless,
and as a result, it's not reckless. Willfully is not recklessness.
Deliberately. Please go ahead. Okay,
willfully is not. It's not recklessness.
Yes, please go ahead. Okay, just go ahead.
You spoke for almost 30 minutes. I was here. I never interrupted.
Please go ahead.
No. I never interrupted when you were speaking. For over 30 minutes, I was here quietly.
Let's not be sidetracked. Please go ahead.
So, in terms of corruption, the NDC is seeking an avenue of equalization to be able to push in matters of perception that some appointees of government have conducted wrongdoings and they have been shielded by the president, wanting to create an assumption that the president is a clearing agent. That has been their mantra. This is a president who has worked with Madam Cecilia Dapaah for the past, let's say, 20, 30 years. Knows the standing, the honesty. Now, Hinto is here, he can attest to Madam Cecilia Dapaah's standing. No matter what. No matter what. Personally,
carry your own cross.
I cannot be made a witness in this matter. I cannot.
Carry your own cross.
This is a very important public platform.
So this is a man who has worked with this woman and can confidently attest to her credibility and integrity.
Okay.
And when these matters came up, the president said, Cecilia, I know you. I know you will certainly come out of these matters clean. It was not judgmental. It was not prejudicial. In any case, the president is not the head of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. The president is not the head of IOCO. The president is not the director of state prosecution.
So you don't agree with those who say that that statement could have predetermined the outcome of the case?
That is why I'm stating emphatically that the
president... You put investigative or these anti-corruption agencies in a very tight corner.
Then it means that...
Because essentially you're saying that I know you come out clean, I know you come out innocent.
So that is where the investigative authorities, clothed with the mandate to be able to investigate and point out matters of corruption or corruption-related offenses, ought to have done their work judiciously, to be able to tell that, Mr. President, you were wrong. The person you believed in is not as you saw or you knew in the past. This is her current standing. But in any case, the outcomes of this investigative report proved out that what the president sought to say in terms of establishing that he has ever worked with a woman for several years and can attest to her integrity, and that the woman, as he notes, is not corrupt, has not tainted herself with, and is not a person who has a record or a legacy of going to public office to siphon monies or other things, will come out clean.
Okay.
And certainly, obviously, the woman has come out clean. Moro, this issue, it is a complainant turned accused. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Her domestic maidens.
Okay, so let me just read this. Sami Dapaah has just sent this message. Sami Dapaah, the man in charge of strategy, research, and communications. He says, good morning. The facts we have stated are clear that IOCO had sufficient evidence to ground an investigation. The docket they got had so many predicate offenses to warrant money laundering investigations. They did not need AG permission to investigate, and they did not need any corruption reports from OSP to investigate. They had statements of 20 suspects in the US and Ghana. They had tax records of Cecilia Dapaah and husband. They had documents and records of how the brother could not have giving her such monies, and above all, she failed to explain how she legitimately made those monies. We opened the team to collaborate. They made a request for investigative report. They've seen it as a corruption agency. They are money laundering agency, and they were giving all the primary documents of suspicion of money laundering to follow and investigate. They do not need corruption as a predicate offense, as they don't have corruption mandate. If it is corruption as predicate, why would OSP in the first place refer such a case to them? If it is because the matters OSP came by were in the province of money laundering, and this applies to the entire monies seized from her and volumes of financial transactions, this should help the gentleman in your studio. So that's from Sami Dapaah. Yeah, they said they've given the IOCO sufficient documentations in the document they presented to them.
So these are the documents they submitted to IOCO.
To ground.
Let me support you the document they submitted to IOCO. They gave the Office of the Special Prosecutor's letter that transmitted the docket to IOCO. Yes. The diary of action, statements taken in the course of the investigation by the Office of the Special Prosecutor, letters written by the OSP to various institutions, including the CID of the Ghana Police Service and some banks in Ghana. Then various exhibits,
yes,
including documents of incorporation of entities
yes,
with which Madam Cecilia Dapaah is associated, company documents of entities owned by persons within which Madam Cecilia Dapaah is associated, and contracts awarded in the term of Madam Cecilia Dapaah as Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources.
Okay.
So, if you submit these, what are these documents pointing to? These are the proprietary documents sent to the Yoko. And indeed, they were sending Yoko on a wild goose chase, fishing expedition. It was on a wild goose chase, fishing expedition.
Okay.
So, in any case, if Mr. Sami Daku states clearly that she was unable to account for some of the monies and those things, then that could have triggered the Article 284(6) that Honorable Butala was mentioning here. Unexplained wealth. So, if unexplained wealth, do you go to Yoko? If unexplained wealth, and you don't have the jurisdiction, can't you even link the unexplained wealth to the corruption and corruption-related offense? That you have something, you are in public office, and you have an unexplained wealth, that you are unable to explain such. So OSP has no mandate to go into that.
So you disagree with the OSP when they say they don't have the mandate to look into this?
Absolutely.
Especially when the same OSP...
Absolutely. No.
I just want a clarification from you. What he read is not just the document, but the content of the documents they submitted to Yoko.
Yes.
And for me, and I want you to expatiate on this, the last bit, when he said that Yoko didn't even need the OSP
to
comment investigation into
the
some of the
case
issues.
of money laundering, yeah.
Don't you think that it should have been appropriate that that Yoko goes ahead with the investigation? They didn't need to even get any document from OSP. They didn't even need to ask for any permission from the Minister for Justice and Attorney General to comment. Don't you think that it would have been appropriate they do so if they have nothing to hide?
Absolutely, they have nothing to hide.
No, don't answer the
but
question.
But a state agency tasked with the responsibility, and we are all eager for the purpose of transparency to know the real outcomes of these material things. Because we are all taxpayers, and we believe that our taxes must be used and utilized judiciously for the benefit of our people. True. That is the belief also of the President of the Republic, because he needs money to finish the interchange projects, the legacy projects that he has established, he has started, that are at various stages of completion. Certainly, it's as a result of liquidity issues that some of these material legacy projects have stalled, or the pace at which they were moving at various stages. So if these monies are in the public purse and being utilized for the benefit of the people of this country, don't you think Ghanaians would have rewarded a new patriotic party as a political party into a third term of government easily? Because they are seeing visible and monumental projects. Certainly we are all concerned, as you are concerned, as the people of Ghana are concerned. Right. But you see, indeed, once the Economic and Organized Crime Office got all these material documents from the OSP and further wrote back to them to submit to them some essential documents that will aid in the allegations that absolutely
of the FBI
that will aid them in establishing the allegations that they are making in order to enhance their investigation, and they refused. Then it means that the docket submitted, we are not. We have not gone through those dockets.
We're not privy to those documents.
We are not privy to those documents, so we cannot speak to it.
Right.
But those who have the legal obligation or the legal mandate to be able to go into those documents have gone into those documents and are telling us that these are people of primary record. And they are telling us that all these material documents submitted to them it's much ado about nothing.
So you don't agree
what they needed from...
So essentially you don't agree with the CDD when it says all of these things he was saying is oddly contrived. It's all been put together. It's like a movie. You know, somebody is somewhere pulling some strings and making sure that we'll not get to the bottom of it.
It is
you don't agree with them. Okay, let me come to
I disagree with them.
Fine. I'll come back to you.
No, I'm coming.
We'll do a second round.
No, I'm coming. Yes. I disagree with
the CDD.
With CDD because once a state institution tasked with a mandate to do a particular act has completed its work and found nothing with it, we that are not obliged, or we that do not have the mandate to go into these proprietary documents cannot say further things.
That's fine.
All that we need to do is to encourage them to be able to execute their mandate for the best, in the interest of the state, so that going forward, we'll be able to use state funds, because all these investigations, it was state funds that were used.
I get it.
So we cannot say that it has been dramatized or that kind of sort.
That's fine.
And that the Kufuor government is clean, transparent, and accountable to the good people of this country.
That's fine.
Put on, brother.
I'll do two things. I think to be fair to you, you're the latest, when I say the latest kid on the block in terms of the movement which has gotten Ghanaians talking and Ghanaians, You know, they're enjoying what is happening because it is a third force that is
Right.
emerging, and a lot of people are, you know, watching with a lot of keen interest and to see whether you mean business, basically. So I would ask you about how Alan Chamanti is doing it, so on and so on. And then I'll go to my more substantive question, which will be that in any properly functioning society, you would expect these state institutions to be talking to each other because at the end of the day, we want one thing.
Right.
We want to be able to get to the bottom of how she made the money so that we can protect the taxpayers' money. But it is not happening in Ghana. Something is fundamentally wrong with our governance architecture. You know, and it's something that I know you'll be very passionate about, which is Ghana, Ghana, Ghana. So that's will be my more substantive question. But how is Alan doing?
Thank you very much, Moro, and a very good morning to all of our cherished listeners and viewers. Honorable Alan Chamanti is doing exceptionally well by the grace of God, physically, spiritually, mentally. And everybody who knows Alan Chamanti and some of us who are working with him now know how very passionate Alan has been about serving this nation, not even just in public office, but even from his private office, from his private sector involvement. He has been at the forefront of helping to build entrepreneurs, because bottom line of our society is the economy.
Right.
And the economy is not about lots of lectures and talk. It turns out that Alan, when he came out with his great transformational plan, as part of his introductory statement, said that we seem to have become a nation of a lot of talking,
no action,
and no action.
Yeah.
And that ought to change. So that is driving Alan Chamanti and his movement for change and the agenda that he's presenting to Ghanaians today. Alan is doing very well. Now, when you check what Alan is presenting to us, all of the things that are happening today will tell you that Ghana has gotten to the point where we need radical, revolutionary change from the status quo of governance. We are basically locked in a political gridlock of MPP and DC, to the extent that even this matter that we are discussing, corruption and the fight against corruption, seems to have been buried in over partisanship. And now when you move out of that difficult area of political partisanship, you are pushed into the area of legal technicalities. To the extent that now, from the discussion we are having, the MPP rep here wants all of us as Ghanaians to understand that there is no corruption as far as this government is concerned. Yeah. Basically, that is the impression that is being created. Every other government has been corrupt except Akufo-Addo's government. And I find that very strange. And I don't believe that that is the perception or that is the belief of majority of Ghanaians. I don't think that is how we feel. That NDC was corrupt, but the president of His Excellency, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, is not corrupt. And so I don't believe that. Because in the past, some people have said, bring me the evidence. So as long as we haven't found the evidence, then the safe position to take is that there is no corruption. Yeah. I don't believe that's the case. Okay. But to move closer to the issues we are dealing with now. Discussion. First of all, I strongly disagree that the president's statement at the very initial stages of this saga of Madame Cecilia Dapaah is not prejudicial. It is prejudicial. I'm not a lawyer. But if the president, who appointed all ministers, who appointed all these chief executives in the public institutions, sends a signal of where his sentiments are, and you're a reasonable, rational person, and you want to keep your job, I mean, already you've been given an unwritten instruction not to go beyond a certain limit. And this one, I am sure that it is simply by common sense assessment. Yes, the Attorney General was appointed by the President. all of the chief executives of the public institutions, YOKO, OSP,
CID.
the police, CID, everybody is appointed by the president. Well, we have the law that says these are autonomous, independent institutions. But truly speaking, from our own experience, how independent, how autonomous have these institutions been, practically? Otherwise, we won't be sitting here talking about this. That a public official has so much money in her possession, physically, in her residence. There is no law that says that if you make money, go and put your money in the bank. So she hasn't committed any offense as far as possessing large sums of money are concerned. But the law also says that public office holders must declare their assets. And then that process, from the information we are getting, has basically been impeded in some way or the other, or that Madam Cecilia Dapaah hasn't really satisfied the conditions that require the declaration of assets fully. I don't know how come there is a feeling that at some point she refused. I don't know how she could. If she did indeed, then there must be a problem.
I get it, because when the OSP was investigating the matter and invited her to their office and asked her to state what she has and what she does not have, you would have expected them to go to the registrar's office, the Auditor General, sorry,
yes,
for
check,
her,
yeah,
assets
declaration accounts to the Auditor General.
No, but I think he wants something more current.
No, but Moro, what I'm even saying is that, look, in this country, and I am really pained to hear basically my icon, Uncle Sam Okujeto. I was pained. I was really disturbed. I didn't know what to do and what to say about what he said. There is law. I agree. I'm not a lawyer. And I won't fight with lawyers over legalities and constitutionalities. But I believe that best practices tell us that even private individuals are required by best practices to keep large sums of monies in the banking system, in the financial system, so that the economy would be moving. Because you need liquidity. And the sums of monies we are talking about that are being held in private residences, I don't think is the best practice. I don't think that is what my own Uncle Sam would encourage.
Right.
Simply because there is no law that requires that you should take your money to the bank. Or that too, nobody has come to report that they've lost $1 million or $2 million. I don't find that acceptable, honestly. And I was a bit worried that at that level, in this country, when Sam Okujeto speaks, it's not a joke.
So
no.
When he speaks recklessly,
No. I hope you're not getting where he's coming from. It's under normal circumstances. That's under normal circumstances. That's what he means.
No, it is.
No, I get that. But I'm saying
you cannot say this to be a reckless
that,
statement.
This is something
we're
talking about.
For information, you know, Mr. Okujeto's law firm is a law firm
for Cecilia Dapaah.
Yeah. So probably he's in the known of some proprietary information that you don't know. I get it. So you cannot say the person is speaking recklessly.
Then now that even explains something to me.
Exactly.
My interest is when he says that who has reported in this country that his money is missing.
Mrs. Bath is the counsel of Madam Cecilia Dapaah, and that is from Sam Okujeto's statement. So probably the information they are aware, they know, you are not aware of it. So don't say he's speaking recklessly.
But when he says that who has reported in this country that his money is missing, it's a reckless statement.
That's an unfortunate.
Well,
an unfortunate statement. Patrick, please go ahead.
I'm not interested in.
Let me also stay before you continue. And that Professor Jonas Kwapong is also on the Zoom. So when you're done, we'll go to it. Please go ahead.
Now, you see, why I said I was worried is that when Sam Okujeto speaks on the law, it goes beyond the borders of Ghana. I mean, he's recognized at the highest global level in law and in other matters of public policy. So when I heard him say this, I thought there is something wrong.
Right.
Because I don't think society is run only by law. I am sure that we have a sense of morality.
Values, ethics.
Values.
Principles.
Yeah. I mean, those may not be hard laws. Yeah. You know. But if we're going to be run only by hard laws as a society, we'll be very robotic.
True.
You know, and very regimented in our thinking, in our way of doing things. I don't think that's the kind of society we want. And I don't believe that, Uncle Sam, that is the society you want for this country, or that is the society you want to leave behind. So please, to say that nobody has come to report that he's lost money, and so therefore, if you find a public office holder holding such large sums of physical cash in their homes, it is not a problem. I very strongly beg to disagree. And I don't think it is very helpful. 2, all of these institutions that are to fight corruption that we're talking about, IOCO, OSP, CID, the police, sometimes CHRAJ, and others, these are fragmented institutions that are not giving sufficient resources in terms of hardware, in terms of finances, in terms of human resources, so that, and in terms of political independence and non-interference.
OSP has said it time and again.
So that they can undertake their jobs. Alan Chamating is saying that, look, there has been so much lip service to the fight against corruption. In fact, when Nanado was on the campaign trail and he talked about corruption, and he talked about how he intended to deal with corruption and Galamsey, and some specific things, some of us were like, wow, we're going to get there now. But the evidence on the ground today doesn't suggest to me that the president is interested in fighting corruption. I don't see it. I don't see Nana Akufo-Addo showing any body language that shows that he's interested in fighting Galamsey. So for me, it's a very big disappointment that we have a case like this. And even before the case took off, the president makes what I find to be very prejudicial. Now, back to my uncle Sam Okujetu. I am not a lawyer, and I'll keep saying that. But what does it mean to hold somebody as a suspect? Yeah, exactly. I mean, if somebody in a case like this is held to be a suspect, how do you establish whether you should proceed further or not? Investigations. So if in the process of investigations, there are some difficulties the OSP is facing, so he hands down information for IOCO to also undertake some investigation. I think it is not a question of saying Cecilia Dapaah is guilty. I don't think so. If you begin to investigate a matter, I don't think that the investigation per se consummates any suggestion that she is guilty.
Right.
Nobody has said, and I don't think anybody can say at this point that Cecilia Dapaah is guilty of anything.
Actually, the investigation is to establish her guilt or innocence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if if anything is done, overtly or covertly, to impede or to discourage or to slow down investigation, that is a major problem. That is why I find the advice of the Attorney General to IOCO to consider the investigation unnecessary very worrying as well. Because now we are bombarded with a lot of suspicion. People, as we sit here, whether the law takes its course or not, I can tell you, there are people who will go to their graves having a certain perception about my sister Cecilia Dapaah, whether you like it or not. Because really, even by the law, there hasn't been any conclusion to the matter. So whatever I feel, I'll carry that in my head. And mind you, people are going to vote on December 7, 2024. This matter will be one of the reasons for which people will vote against the NPP. I can tell you that.
Really?
I'm telling you. You think people are not worried about perceptions? Perception, and that's a very important word. In politics, in social life, in public life, sometimes, and I'm a communications person. I've done communications as a reporter, through to teach at the graduate school, at the university. Perception in public life, in political life, is much more important than even substance. I can tell you that. So if there is perception and the government doesn't show real interest in dealing with perception, NPP will be punished for that.
Let me go to Professor
And I
John.
think they should take it very seriously.
Let me go to Professor John Osai Kwapo. No, because he's been on Zoom for a while. Prof, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Hello, Prof. Can you hear me? Professor John Osai Kwapo, it's a CDD Ghana fellow. He's joined us because the CDs actually issued a statement where they are registering their dismay and utter shock at the latest tweet and oh, sorry, I thought you were done. Oh, I'm so sorry. Please land, we'll take a break. Please land, we'll take a break. All right. No, he's actually, you have taken more time. Please go ahead.
So you see,
please go ahead. Yeah.
This issue about if some businessman had millions of CDs or dollars stashed in their home, would you suspect them? I mean, it's neither here nor there. It's just playing to the gallery. Who doesn't know in this country what Dr. Joseph Sian Japan does? Or Ibrahim Mahama. Right. Or any one of the businessmen that you can talk about, mention their names.
Yeah. That's by a group of companies.
Yes. So to make a comparison that, look, what do I do? Or you need to, what do I do? Everybody knows it. Yeah, right. If you come and find $2 million in my home, so you think it's not of interest to anybody, then I should find whatever means. I'll get $2 million or something bigger than that. I won't take it to the bank, because if you take it to the bank, there will be a record, a public record. So the best way to stay out of the public eye is to keep the money in your home or somewhere private. That in itself is a source of concern and a source of worry. Now, my friend here is saying that Ghana is not a theocratic state. I don't even know how that came in. And I agree, Ghana is not a theocratic state. But people in Ghana, the president himself agreed, are very religious, to put it mildly. In fact, the president went ahead to say that even though Ghana is not a theocratic state, Ghana is majority Christian. Recently, not too long ago, he said it when he had this Christian delegation visiting from the US. So what is the value of having religion? What is the value of having moral values? What is the value of having standards to which we can aspire? This should tell you that as we sit today, our society is actually on the verge, on the brink of collapse as far as moral values and standards are concerned. Look, even with the law, I don't think that law enforcement in Ghana is at its best. Let's talk about the law. We will use the law to hold our society together. Look at the chaos on our roads. Look at the confusion all in our societies and the perception of corruption that is going on, and almost all the institutions of investigating or having the power to investigate some of these matters are basically being weakened from the look of things. I don't think that we are heading in the right direction. And that is precisely why my very good friend, Alan Chamating, is telling Ghanaians, look, when you take the issue of corruption, when you take the issue of the economy, when you take the issue of education, when you take the issue of roads, infrastructure, whatever subject you pick on to discuss at any public platform, it is MPP NDC. To the extent that sometimes we even lose the essence, the material, the real issues that ought to be discussed. So it is time that Ghanaians tell ourselves, we don't need 6 months to decide. We don't need 1 year, 2 years to decide. Let us look at the individuals who are presenting themselves to Ghanaians to become president. President Mahama, he's done his bit. I think he should retire, and give way to some fresh ideas at the presidency. Vice President Bahumia, he has been in charge of the economy for 8 years. Look, you see, people say he's saying he was the driver's mate and this and that and that. I mean, for me, it's neither here nor there, because look,
nothing can.
What, and I will say this all the time for Ghanaians to get me.
Yes.
What President Kufuor, then candidate Kufuor, told the NPP just close to your studio here at Alisa Hotel.
Right.
As the reason why the MPP at the time should accept a non-party member as running mate, which is totally against the party's constitution, was that Dr. Bawumia was such a genius as far as economic management is concerned. And that if the party agreed and he became president and handed the economy over to Dr. Bawumia, who will be the chairman of his economic management team, Ghanaians will see the kind of work that Dr. Bawumia will do for this economy. 8 years on, when the economy is being discussed, Dr. Bawumia doesn't want to talk about the economy. He talks about one minute, and I say minute bit, digitization. Digitization is not the whole economy. No. Now you are talking about an economy whose macro structures have totally collapsed. Our debt to GDP ratio, I was saying it was around 70 or so. I was informed that it is not 70, it's close to 90. And I said, 90? So this is a bankrupt state. A government presides over the economy of a nation for 8 years, brings it to the brink or actually into bankruptcy, and has the courage to tell Ghanaians that we should vote for MPP. I don't get it. And the president speaks with such confidence. He's done this and that. The Ghanaian people are telling you, this is our experience. And it's as if we don't have the capacity to articulate our own situation. The government, the president, the vice president, they have to tell us that everything is okay, except for a few hitches here and there. Yeah. My goodness. The situation Ghana is faced today requires a president, a government that would take a radically different view of governance, of economic management and public policy, of how to move this country from chaos and disorder and lawlessness now to something that is more sane. What we are faced with is not mere political propaganda, where we come and say, my good friend was greeting Dr. Bawumia, he's the next president, and this and that. For me, that's neither here nor there. What Ghanaians are faced with today is an economy that is spiraling downwards, not upwards. The World Bank recently said the economy is rebounding. And I said, what were their indices? Is it because I'm not in Ghana? Or because I'm not a statistician? So I can't feel it when I go to the market. That last week, I went and bought a bucket of tomatoes for 50 cedis. And then yesterday, I went, it was 120 cedis. Over 120 cedis in Medina market. I went personally to buy it myself. And I was like, and I said, Madam.
So how do you reconcile that?
How do you reconcile that with what the World Bank people are telling us?
So something is amiss.
I mean, definitely, people are playing with numbers and statistics,
right,
whilst Ghanaians are experiencing something different.
Right.
Alan Chamating is saying that, look, you can play with the numbers. And he has even said that the way Bank of Ghana even sets the prime rate is just fidgeting with numbers. Let us look at our real situation, our production in agriculture, right, our production in industry, our exports, and the output of the economy, and then use that to gauge what will be the prime rate, what will be the exchange rate, fix an exchange rate window, especially for industry.
Right.
And then what will be the rates that industry borrows money from the banks to do business. These are the real issues. How do we fight corruption? Clearly, IOCO, OSP, CID, the police charge are so fragmented and so weak. 1. 2, they are so influenced by higher political authority that now, even when IOCO has its own mandate, has the authority to do its work, IOCO says that in this case, we want to go and ask the Attorney General.
He said they don't even know what they are looking for.
What we should do. So why couldn't IOCO do its work independent of OSP.
Right.
Does OSP serve Iyoko? No. Is OSP subservient to Iyoko? Should OSP go and do preliminary investigation, give reports to Iyoko before Iyoko can do its work? I need to understand, because I don't know where all these things is coming from. Okay. They should have given a more detailed report. They should have given the FBI details of the FBI report. Right. So Iyoko, does it have power to do its own work? Does it have the mandate, or OSP and other agencies are the ones serving the initial investigative roles for Iyoko before Iyoko can do its own? I don't think that is the situation.
All right.
So to suggest that because OSP didn't give enough information to Iyoko and so on and so forth, for me, it's neither here nor there.
Okay, now we'll take a break. We'll just take a break. It's just a minute break. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll have 10 minutes to play with. And so I'm sure my panel will use the rest of the 10 minutes. We'll share 3 minutes each, and then we can end or conclude on this topic. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. This is Inside Pages on Metro Television. We have about 10 minutes approximately to end the show. We couldn't even, we will not be able to discuss the issues about the limited voter registration and some of the issues that have come up. But it's an ongoing process, and so perhaps next weekend when we come, we'll look at it. But let me just state something. Initially, when the Honorable Murtala was, in fact, when he started his submission on the Cecilia Dapaah matter, he mentioned $1 million in terms of the monies that OSP said he had found in her private residence. To be fair to the honorable member, he said $1 million. I was the one who erroneously said it's $3 million. So he's right. I'm wrong. It's $1 million, 300,000 pounds, euros, 2.7 million Ghana cedis, and then $590,000. So, Honorable, I sincerely apologize. So, I'm sure you've landed.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, but do you see, maybe this should be your conclusion, but do you see any light at the end of the tunnel?
Mm-hmm. The light at the end of the tunnel for Ghana.
Because Iyoko says he's sending the document back to OSP. In fact, they've sent the document back to OSP already.
The Honorable Member of Parliament, Murtala, said that if there is an issue of criminality in any matter, it has no expiry date. So maybe that would be the window.
No statute.
As I said initially, nobody has attributed criminality to Madame Cecilia Dapaah. Just that there is suspicion.
Right.
There are concerns. There is a certain smell of corruption. There is some smell of criminality.
Right.
I am sure that if it has become the case that for what I consider to be political reasons mainly, this whole process is being stalled, at any time in the future, I am sure that any government that comes in the future can choose to revisit this and possibly other such matters. And I don't think the people who would be in a position to do this would be accused of witch hunting. Sometimes there are real
cases of witch hunting.
Cases of political witch hunting. But when the public takes an interest in a matter like this, and when the environment, the facts and issues surrounding the issue, the matter are so suspicious, it is even better for the personality involved, for the government, that these matters are allowed to be properly investigated and settled, so that going forward, we would have set some benchmarks. Right now, going forward, anybody has a right. We are being encouraged to keep our monies at home. Look, and that is what I said what worried me about my uncle's statement. And I didn't want to go back too much into it because, you see, you may say that the Bible doesn't rule us, but some of us, the Bible rules our lives. The Bible says that you don't rebuke an elder in public. But otherwise, I am just saying that, Uncle Sam, this matter, my understanding from Enoch is that Okujeto Chambers is the one that is handling the case for Madame Cecilia Dapaah. Maybe that, of course, that would be the reason why
he's conflicted.
So
Yeah.
So Sam is conflicted.
Yeah, exactly. He has a personal interest in terms of protecting his client. But I don't think that when you talk about his chambers, it has to be him personally. Apart from he being a private practitioner in law, he is also a high-level statesman.
Yeah.
In his own right, even before he became member of Council of State. I mean, you go and check the bio of Samoku Jetu. You know, so that is where I have a lot of difficulty. I would say that the statement he made for me is a mistake.
It's a mistake.
Maybe going forward, he should leave his lawyers to handle the matter.
So he must come again.
And he must come again.
Okay.
And two, if he wants to make any public statement on this matter especially, and other matters that have to do with the protection of the public's good, I mean, he should calculate it such that that name that he has for me is so great, honestly. Yeah. Some of these politically motivated things should not color anybody's
You said
judgment.
something off record that perhaps the MPP is not thinking about the electoral consequences of this.
Well, maybe I've even given them free consultancy for which they should pay me.
Right.
Yeah, because now we're in political competition.
Right.
Sometimes they say that, oh, Alan is in this race to spoil MPP's votes. The people who are saying that, they are not serious. They don't know what they're talking about. Or that Alan is going to return to the MPP we are talking. Nobody is going to talk to anybody.
Okay.
Ghana is at a point where we need a non-partisan, independent-minded, nationally spirited person with a clean record of performance.
Okay.
No issues with integrity or corruption to lead this country for us to get out of this mess.
That
is Alan Chemati.
Okay, so Nano Hininto is speaking the language of the people, not politics, and I'm in full support of his stance on the issue. I want to join their movement. I'll stop voting after ex-President Kufuor, but I stopped voting after ex-President Kufuor, but I have the urge to vote again. But for Alan's movement for change, Kobe from Ashalibutre sent that message. Maybe Nano Hininto will share his number with you so you can get in touch with him. Sam Kujeto, I'm disappointed in him. I wonder where he studied his law. Eddie from Achimota. Good morning, Mr. Host and the panelists. It's very disheartening when you hear some people defending Cecilia Dapaah's issue. The salary of a minister is less than 30,000 Ghana cedis a month, which is $2,500 a month, assuming not admitting that she even doesn't spend all. Her 8-year salary will be around $240,000. Also, her salary is paid to the bank, so if she even withdrew them every month and she keeps them, she will not even get $1 million US in her house. This alone in a civilized country will call for a probe in the sort of wealth left alone. That amount she has minus what had been stolen from it, and that she had 2.7 million Ghana cedis, 150,000 euros, and so on and so forth. Wow, copy from Tema sends that message. Please, my name is Adam from Accra. My simple question for the MPP rep: did Madam Cecilia Dapaah declare her assets before coming into public office as prescribed by law, or there is no compulsion for asset declaration to? What is the source of the money? Ghanaians want to know. It's as simple as that. This one said, I'm very scandalized by the text sent by Mr. Sami Dako from the USP's office. I don't think he has read the Money Laundering Act very well. This act simply says that for money laundering investigations to begin, there must be first an existing offense. So Sami Dako should tell us the existing offense for which reason alleged money laundering offense should be considered. Now, he said it time and again that the issues about tax evasion, there's issues about irreconcilable differences with what she said she had taken from somebody from America and what the person said he had given to her. That in itself can constitute grounds for a foundational offense. So he's been saying that repeatedly. So please, let's bear that in mind. I don't know how we're going to do this because we have just 4 minutes. I don't know. You do 2 minutes to land? Okay, honorable, let's go. Otherwise, they'll take us off.
First and foremost, when he was making his submission, he said the NDC was in a desperate attempt to equalize.
Yes.
Maybe perhaps the CDD is also in a desperate attempt to equalize. Imani is in a desperate attempt to equalize. The movement for change is also in a desperate attempt to equalize. I mean, it's ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, to hear some of such comments. And again, this attempt to clean President Nana Addo and Dr. Bawumia of corruption won't wash. They can clean them with all the perfumes in Arabia. In fact, the oud perfume, they will still be smelling corruption. President Nana Addo supervised the criminal addition of $800 million into the Ameri renegotiation deal. It took the vigilance of the NDC members in Parliament to identify the $800 million. That addition was done at the Flagstaff House for and on behalf of the president. And you think that we should clean this man of corruption? He is not only an accomplice. As a matter of fact, he is the one who is sharing the booty of plunder and robbery of state resources. And again, he talks about Dr. Bome. Why? PDS. And I'm happy that tomorrow is hugely pregnant. You see, the grotesque of inequality and the freakless arrogance that comes with the governance of this country under this president is something that certainly will be revisited. Now he says that, oh, the NDC is the most corrupt political party in this country, and his basis are that they have been prosecution and conviction of NDC members. Ridiculous. You see, the CDD Afrobarometer describe your government as the most corrupt government ever in the history of this country. The Corruption Perception Index, the highest we ever chalked in this country, happened under President Mahama when we had 48%. Yes, under your government, right, you scored the lowest. As a matter of fact, the lowest of President Mahama is what we are celebrating. Then you turn around and you tell me that, oh, this government is not corrupt. To conclude, Moro, to conclude, a very good friend of President Nanado, Professor Juma Boydu, they asked him about Nanado's fight for corruption. You know why he says Nanado's fight for corruption is in tar test. Everybody in this country knows how corrupt your government is. So I'm saying that there has never been a deliberate and conscious attempt to criminally rob this country than what we witnessed in the Ameri renegotiation deal. But you see, the difference, Moro, the difference between President Mahama, President Nanado, President Rawlings, President Mills under the Fourth Republic, and Nanado is that President Nanado and Dr. Bome have actually perfected corruption. They are directly involved in the robbery and plunder of the state resources.
Moro, thank you so much.
2 minutes, 2 years.
Yeah. Moro, we present a candidate to the good people of Ghana, the vice president who has been in office for the past 7 years, whose tenure has never seen any allegation of corruption or corruption-related offense around his office. I'm talking of the man, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
PDS.
His integrity.
PDS.
He is not corrupt. You see, Ghanaians are asking for some questions and some answers. I learned the former president, John Dramani Mahama, tweeted that he will revisit the Madam Cecilia Dapaah case when the opportunity comes to him as president. Ghanaians are asking Mr. John Dramani Mahama to make a statement on the conviction and sentencing of Madam Sednam Tamakulu, who stole and embezzled over 90 million Ghana cedis from the taxpayers.
What has that got to do with
Ghanaians are asking President Mahama to speak about the Airbus scandal.
Why?
Ghanaians are asking from John Mahama to tell Ghanaians whether he paid for the gift tax on the Ford expedition he took from Mr. Kanazuli, who was awarded a 100 million Ghanaian cedi contract. Ghanaians are asking for Mr. John Dramani Mahama to speak on the cocoa smuggling syndicate on Amajaro, whose issue
these are desperate.
It's reported in the handout of parliamentary records in the British House of Commons. Ghanaians are asking for Mr. John Dramani Mahama to speak about the committee that was set up to investigate and go ahead as vice president under Professor Mills. Let me see.
You are clothed with. Well, this is where I'm going to draw. This is where I'm going to draw. And I'm going to beg you. I'm going to draw because of time. I don't know. They'll take us off. Yes. I hear you. Thank you very much for watching Inside Pages. My name is Adi Moro. Thank you very much to Nana Hininto, who is a special advisor to Allah Cherabate, Murtala Mohammed, MP for Tamale Central, and Enoch Amshwe Afwakwa. Thank you very much for joining us. Bye-bye. Up next is Living Well. Bye-bye.